Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation! Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I'm your host, Justin D. Morgan. It is a balmy 45 degrees Fahrenheit in the basement. For those of you that are more used to centigrade, I don't have the temperature conversion handy, but it's not balmy. Let's see here who we have in the chat. We have Thomas Armstrong. Hi, Thomas. Thomas says 486 plus some bits. Ooh. You should have, you all probably should reread the title and thumbnail. We'll get to what that means later. We have Sadmac. Hi, Sadmac. Sadmac's asking, an eBay regret? A misidentified eBay regret? This should be good. Yes, just depends on who misidentified it and who identified it. We have Callan. Hi, Callan. Yes. We have ZZCO, which you have to remind me who your actual username is. The picture looks familiar, but welcome. We have Sylvestron. Hi, Sylvestron. We have SJ, Brian EXE. Hi, SJ. We have 1-Bit. Hi, Michael. And yeah, that's insanely cold, says Sylvestron. Yeah, that's why I've got a heater running behind me, which don't pay no attention to the one further behind me. I had that one on when it was really, really cold outside, week before last. Yes. Oh, ZZ Co. Oh, okay. Yes. All right, let's see here. We got the Coffee Go link is in the description, and because I'm having sort of trouble seeing over top of the stack of boxes in front of me, let's go ahead and get this box opening party started with the following important announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
All right, and just to give you an idea of what we are working with, there we go. We have, Sylvestron says, it's 29 degrees Celsius outside here at the moment, should reach 36 Celsius. It's currently 25 in your office. Ooh, yeah, stay cool. Oh, okay. ZCCO is a friend of Jesse. All right. Awesome. All right, so we got a couple boxes here. This one, if I have correctly identified them, this one is going to wait because it might give away what we have to open. So we will start with these two. I believe these two are related. Not from the same seller, but they are related purchases. So let's go ahead and start with the one that arrived. Actually, let's start with the one that is heaviest, because I don't want to, this pile of boxes is sort of unstable. So this first Fragile package comes to us from an eBay seller in California. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in California. Yes, I do have old Emerson hardware. Some of it even works. Some of it even talks. All right, so let's see here. I don't want to accidentally dump the contents of this box onto the floor, so I'm going to, or accidentally dox either myself or the eBay seller. All right, so let's see here. We have things packaged in, festive tissue paper. Wow, it's like I've gone to a party and brought home some of the streamers. But let's see here. The first item we have is an LS120 drive. Look at that. Woohoo! Oh, ZZ Co says, my first PC was an Emerson 8286. Nice. Yeah, my talking 286 is an Emerson. It has speech capabilities. I'm still looking for someone to archive disc 2 of the restore set to maybe fully explore them. But anyways, so this is an IDE LS120 drive. It also takes floppy disks. I've been looking for one of these for a while, so I picked one up. Fun fact, apparently iOmega developed the technology in an LS120 drive, but they decided to make the zip drive instead, so they sold their technology to Mitsubishi or someone like that to fund their zip drive. So, yeah, this was a competing standard. The drive, yeah, LS120 was weird. That's why I've been looking for a drive. I've never used it. I'd like to try it. It is kind of weird. It is a laser-assisted magnetic media, but it can also read floppy disks. However, zip drives were more popular for various reasons. Maybe because people wanted a drive that it was... Possibly because people thought you could just stick an LS120 disk into a regular floppy drive. Anyways, the second item we have is a Seagate Barracuda 30 gigabyte hard drive. This could come in handy in some machines. 30 gigabytes. But last but not least, I have... Ooh, I'm going to take this one out of the bag. So that you all know that I have not forgotten about DVD. I have a slot load DVD ROM drive. Look at that cool little drive there. It is I believe that is a Pioneer drive. Yep, Pioneer Corporation. And your eyes do not deceive you. This is actually a SCSI DVD drive, currently configured for ID 0. So this was probably not in a Macintosh, because usually the ID 0 would have been a hard drive. I suspect it was in a PC and possibly... Yeah, there's something weird about the audio connector. Oh, that was just a bit of dust in it. I thought it was like a piece of metal. Anyways, there we go. SCSI can be configured for that. Yes. Yes, you can configure SCSI drives for ID 0 generally. There are actually some platforms that ID 0 is the host. But on Macintosh, ID 7 is the host. ID 0 generally is the hard drive. Generally. It doesn't have to be. But that was generally what Apple configured the hard drive for. I believe if it was a computer that had a SCSI CD-ROM drive, I want to say that the CD-ROM drive was usually ID 3 or 4 or something like that. But anyways, But there are some systems out there where the SCSI controller or the host is actually ID 0. So I want to say that it might be I want to say Sun might be one that they usually used ID 0 for the Sun workstation. So you wouldn't be able to use that for the hard drive. ZZ Co says, nice, I need me a couple 486s. Sylvester said, yeah, Pioneer made basically all the slot loaders. Beauties, yeah. One bit says, wait, there were killer apps on a 286 for games? My cousin's XT had early stuff like Alley Cat for Sierra Games IRC. Yeah, I do have a Zip 100 and a Zip 250. Yeah, there was actually going to be an LS 240, but I don't know if it came out. Or it might have only come out in Japan or something like that. So this next item comes to us from an eBay seller in Maryland. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Maryland. Hopefully I might even see some of my Maryland peeps in, I think it's May, when System Source is having a swap meet. So close to VCF East, but... Alright, now if I've not managed to confuse my eBay purchases... There we go. 5 super discs. And they're still sealed. Excellent. Somewhere I have a super disc in the house. ZZ Co says, my killer app for my 286 was ZZT and VB-DOS, lol. Oh, Sadback says, ID 0. That makes a lot more sense. I don't know why my brain heard. I thought IDE 0, yeah. Okay, I am trying to make sure that I open these in order because I don't want to give away too much too soon. So this next package comes to us from an eBay seller in New Jersey. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in New Jersey. Test drive plays great on a 286. Yes, it does. ZZ Co says, also not retro PC related, but I'm getting into collecting laser discs. Nice. Maybe someday I'll do that too. Actually, our local game store was looking for someone to repair a Laserdisc player. I may take them up on that offer, but it's not a particularly well-documented Laserdisc player. Oh, let's see here. We have a Diamond Stealth 64. No, we don't. No, we don't. I was about to say, I don't remember ordering one of those. What model laser player? I'll get that in a moment. Sadback saying, what do we have? A Trident? Of course we have a Trident. I would have gladly accepted the substitution and taken the flack because it was a Stealth 64 VESA Local Bus card in this box. But yes, we have a Trident TVGA 9200 CXI. Nice VESA Local Bus card. Was pulled out of a Gateway computer, I believe, or well, no, it was made by Jayton. That's a Jayton label, not a Gateway label. So it was made in the USA by Jayton, which means this box had nothing to do with this video card. except I suspect whoever owned this video card upgraded to a Stealth 64. Hey, at least I got a box out of it. I may have to put this on my shelf, because it is pretty... It is a cool box that's in decent shape, so I won't get rid of the box. Sylvester says, heck, I'd be happy with a Stealth 64 box. That's awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, DZ Kosa sounds about right. Yep. So don't worry, I will keep the box, and it will probably appear on a shelf, a random shelf at a random time. Because, yeah, what an upgrade, says DZ Co. Yes. So don't worry, I do not get rid of boxes like that when they're in good shape and are useful for shelf decorations. Yeah, they got the upgrade, I got the downgrade. Anyways, this next to last box comes to us from an oh, no, I need to open... No. Yeah, we need to open this box first. So this next to last item comes to us from an eBay seller in Arizona. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Arizona. Game.04, if you're watching, howdy. ZZ Coast says, also useful for storing a Stealth 64. Yeah, if I had a Stealth 64. All right. So we have... Ah, yes. We have a motherboard. And let's just say that I took it on faith. Sad Max says, this is where he'd put his Stealth 64 if he had one. Yes, I took it as a leap of faith that the eBay seller was actually going to send me what I bought. Because, all right, so this motherboard, I was able to make an offer for $70 for it, and I think that included shipping. ZCCO says, yes, my 486 Envy comes from my other hobby, OS development, lol. Yep. Alright, so this is the motherboard that the eBay seller said was a 486. And as you read my stream description, I alluded to almost not buying this board, and that is correct. I almost didn't buy it, because I at first didn't take a really close look at the auction photos. So I was thinking this was exactly what the eBay seller said it was. A 486 motherboard. I have enough of them that I wasn't going to buy another one. I was going to let someone else have a chance at buying a VIP motherboard at some price. So, there we go. Now, obviously, I am covering something up for the surprise factor. But anyways, there we go. At first glance, you're not looking at it too closely. I mean, it does look like a VIP 486 motherboard. There's our VESA Local Bus. There's our ISA slots. There's our PCI slots. In fact, it has 2 VESA Local Bus slots, so more desirable. But I already have a VIP motherboard, so I was just going to be content with the one I had. And I mean, it sort of, Look at there. It even looks like a 486. And no, I'm still being dramatic here. But then I kind of looked a little closer. And I will zoom in a little bit here. As I started to look at the board closer, I realized there was one slight problem with the eBay seller's description and auction listing title. And I will wait a moment to see if anybody might notice the problem. I probably should maybe move, there we go. Move the board there, there we go. But I noticed something that told me that this was not a 486 VIP board. Because, as Sylvestron just correctly guessed, this is a Pentium VIP motherboard. Which leads us to our last potential regret here from an eBay seller in Texas. So, hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Texas. Needless to say, Socket 4 boards don't show up on eBay very often. Sadback said, yeah, I thought from the description that the seller had misidentified it. Yes. I also did not have a Socket 4 processor. So, from an eBay seller in Texas, I have bought a Socket 4 Pentium. Yep, Sylvestron says, yep, there it is. And let's see here, go to the RetroWeb. Yep, Sylvestron found it. It is a MyTac or Trigon PWA PB5500C with the Opti 82C 596, 597. Although I think actually the RetroWeb has the chipset misidentified. I think it's actually the 597, 546 chipset. But anyways, oh, let's see here. I have a Socket 4 Pentium here, and we are about to do a reveal here. All right, so there is something, let me pull it up here. Oh. Let me search for the correct Wikipedia article. All right. So we have that is not the... Hold on, I am looking for the correct article here. Let's see here, Intel Pentium, Socket 4, list of processors. Of course, it's all the way down at the bottom of the article. No, it's not. There we go. Cores and... Come on. All right, I know there was a list somewhere. All right. Anyways, I was going to reveal the stepping number here. If I can find the list of steppings. But anyways, let's go ahead and reveal what I have. So it is a Pentium 60, and it is an SX948. And I am having trouble finding the... Oh, and that is Core Stepping D1. Ah, yes. Yes, a ripping 60 megahertz. I believe Stepping D1 does not have the FDiv bug. So I don't know which I would have rather wanted. A processor with the FDiv bug or one without. Because I think Pentium 60s are fairly rare these days. Or they're more common and people just hold on to them because they remember using them. But I bought one that had a heatsink attached because finding the heatsink that fits socket 4 is just about impossible these days. Sylvester says, yeah, it doesn't have the FDiv bug. So let's go ahead and insert the processor, and then we'll check the jumpers. And well, actually, I think we've got a bent pin. I think one of the pins might be just ever so slightly bent. Maybe not. All right. There we go. Processor is in. All right. So let's check jumper settings, at least in terms of processor speed. And then we will go because I'm going to assume that the jumpers are correct for everything else, because it doesn't look like anyone stole jumpers, but I don't know if this had a Pentium 60 or a 66 in it. Oh, actually... actually, we got a bent jumper pin here. There we go. I think that is... There. All right, I think I've bent that back into shape. Oh, it looks like we do have a couple more bent front panel connectors here. All right, that'll fix that. So there's going to be our power LED and key lock. And that's our speaker. And reset. All right. Very important ones to know. So let's see here. All right, so let's check the jumpers here. So 60 megahertz is, let's see here, there should be a jumper JP 17, 18, 19. All right, I will definitely check this board for shorts because there are some tantalum caps on it. Here's 17, 18, 19. Kind of expecting them to all be in a group. Oh, wow. Some more bent pins here that says reserved open. And those pins were almost shorted, so let's fix that. We are going to remove that battery. I don't think it has done much leaking, but we will go ahead and remove that. I will probably warm up the soldering iron to remove that. Does look like we have avoided catastrophe. And oh, there we go. There's 17, 18, 19. So, oh, this did have a 60 megahertz processor in it because it's open, closed, open, and that is 60 megahertz. Excellent. I think that might have seemingly been the most common socket 4 processor. At least for consumer PCs. Yeah, Scary Tantalums. Oh, hi, Mark Anning. Welcome. And Aaron Massa. Welcome. All right, let's check for shorts here. I am going to use my ATX power supply now that I see that this is a just an AT power supply or ATX or AT motherboard. I thought it had a for some reason I thought this board had a 3.3 volt power connector on it. All right, I'm gonna check that I got common. All right, so that's common. All right, no short, no short, no short, no short. Those are commons. No short. That was a cap charging. No short. All right, no shorts. All right. So at least, at the moment, we do not have any shorted tantalums. I cannot guarantee that that will remain. All right, let's remove this battery. Why don't we? How about let's remove it? How about let's remove it very carefully? And by very carefully, I mean post-haste. Yeah, socket 4, I think, is a bit on the rare side. That's probably why the eBay seller thought it was 486, because the pin grid. Oh, good. So there's where the battery was, and I only see nothing. I don't see any. I don't even see the beginning hint of corrosion. I'm still going to take a Q-tip and, or excuse me, a cotton swab. These are generic. And I'll just at least make sure that yeah, I think that just pulled dust off of it. So I think we're, yeah, socket 4 is very early Pentium. There were only, I want to say there were only 4 total processors for it. But I am kind of cheating. I'm using marketing numbers because 2 of them were actual processors and 2 of them were overdrive processors. So there was the Pentium 60 and the Pentium 66. But then there was the, I think they had a Pentium Overdrive 120 and a Pentium Overdrive 133. And that was it. That is all socket 4 ever saw. Because socket 4 is a 5-volt processor socket. Yeah, the very first Pentiums were 5-volt processors. All right. Yeah, then the later socket 5 was 3.3 volt, or split core with a voltage regulator. But yeah, the original Pitiums were 5 volt. All right. So let's see here. All right, I don't have the smart outlet turned on. So I'm going to plug in power. I'm going to use the smart outlet to turn the power on to the board, so I can go behind my super safe safety shield. I am going to use a PCI graphics card for the first test, partly because I know or I'm fairly sure the graphics card works. I am, though, going to spray some contact cleaner into all the slots that I put cards into. All right. I should probably also put some RAM in this board. So, how about... oh, that is EDO RAM. I definitely know this board is probably too new for EDO. So, let's see here. Oh, let's see. Nope, I was using DIMMs with that board. That board would have supported EDO, though. Yeah, looks like I'm about to go find a fast page modular, two fast page modules. Oh wait, oh, there's one. Oh, I found one. Oh, that module might be sitting there because it doesn't work. Let me not fall for that trick. Yeah, let me see here. Nope, that's not going to have DIMMs on it. That board. That board. Or Sims on it. Sims. All right, let me go find some fast page Sims. Just a moment. Those are video. Oh, here we go. Oh, excellent. I think there's some fast page modules in that bag. All right. There we go. Let's try these. Should have probably put the Sims in first. All right. These go... this way. All right. So if I want to contact clean, I want those two sockets. Very good. There we go. We got RAM. We've got a video card. We have a monitor. And we have a postcard. I should have a postcard floating around here somewhere. Here it is. A postcard. I'm going to put it in the PCI slot so I can actually see it. There we go. And a postcard. All right. So we got power. We have video. We've got RAM. We've got a postcard. We've got a processor. We checked the clock speed. We removed the battery. And almost like the only other thing I can think of is to put a disk controller card on it so that I can... All right, how about let's try to power it up like this. Video, RAM, processor. And if it works, then we'll worry about a disk controller card. So, I'm going to go behind my safety blast shield because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, lots of nasty, mean, evil tantalum capacitors on this board. And I'm a chicken. And smoke test in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And nothing. That was a big fat nothing. No postcodes. Should maybe plug in a speaker, shouldn't I? Yeah. See, did the, here we go. The postcard did come with a little speaker lead, so let's go ahead and plug the speaker in. I did see on the postcard we seemingly had voltages, but no post activity. Is it plugged in? Yes, it was plugged in. Yes, this is very early Pentium, as in the first of the Pentiums. All right, so that you all can see the postcodes, I will go ahead and Let me set this on some cardboard. I'll set this where it's not blocking, or where it's blocking the fewest number of tantalums. But this display should, well, assuming it will cooperate, this will show the same thing that's on the number display on the card. So this is current postcode, and this is previous postcode. And I will go ahead and attempt to power it up in 3, 2, 1. And nothing. No post activity. Huh. All right. So we will go ahead and let's inspect the board again. Make sure chips are seated. They do appear to be seated. All right. Speaker key lock reset. Oh. There's a broken capacitor on this corner of the board. I mean, that's probably not the cause of the no post, but yeah, as Sadmax says, it is a problem. It's probably not the problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that from the board the rest of the way, just to make sure that the one leg doesn't go somewhere where we don't want it to, because it was kind of hanging on by one leg. And just for my reference in the future, oh, these are 10 microfarad 25 volt caps. So whoever made this board used a better rating of cap. I am more relieved to see that they use 25 volt caps. But anyways, so that is certainly a problem. It's probably not the problem. It is I'm looking to see if there's an external battery connector, because it is possible this chipset wants a battery. I should maybe check the other jumpers. All right, let's take a gander at the jumper settings. All right. So J2 is the external battery. That is the connector beside the keyboard. I think I have an external battery thing from Ron's computer videos. However, finding it might be the trick. If I can find it, I think I can plug it into the board. Alright, so I'm just going to double check the jumper settings here real quick. So for bank 0 of cash, because I think this is bank 0, looks like we should have JP1, JP2, JP15. Be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So there's 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. All right, so those are correct. All right, it looks like we do have $8K times 8 of cash. So JP 9, 10, 11, and 12 should all be open. I have to say, that is not a... Yep, JP 9, 10, 11, and 12. Those are all open. Okay. Well, that is going to complicate trying to upgrade cache in this board. Potentially. Alright. I'm not worried about the AT clock. External clock source. No. VESA Local Bus. JP3 is open. JP13. 2 and 3 is normal. Hi, David. Welcome. We have Dave's Vintage Apple Tech. Let's pull this flash chip here. And no, let's not do that. How about let's just put a let's try powering it up with just a postcard. No video card. All right. And I've got the code reader there so you all can see it. So, all right, let's turn this on. And no beeps. We got no beeps. We got, looks like we have voltages. We are, the board is still in reset. That is, all right, so the board is still in reset. It's not coming out of reset. All right, so what could cause it to not come out of reset? Well, it could be looking for battery voltage. Some boards won't post without a battery. That could be... that could be one thing it's looking for. The board could be... I guess there's always the chance the board is just broken. All right, maybe let's go down to the minimum required to power the board on. Oh, that one sim did not feel seated. All right. That do anything? No, it did not. What if I do this number? Sometimes this will. Oh, I think the board. Well, the board came out of reset, but it's not. Hi, Sean. Welcome. eBay is still not showing full usernames. Nope, it's a socket 4 motherboard. This is a Pentium board. The seller sold it as a 486, but it's a Pentium board. You know, I could. All right, I could put the ISA card in. This is one of those postcards that, like, there we go. It's one of those postcards you can kind of put in the slot wrong, but I think I got it in right. Maybe there's something wrong with the PCI bus? Nope. Nope, still got nothing. Let me pull out my thermal camera. See if anything's getting warm. Hi, Jesse, welcome. Haven't had to use the postcard yet. Yep, they're handy to have. Alright, so the CPU heatsink is at 22 degrees Celsius. Or 20, yeah. That's not showing any heat. So basically, it's kind of hard to show you what I'm looking at, but I am seeing the dyes in a bunch of the chips, but nothing is... Hottest thing, at least in the frame here, is 25.7 degrees Celsius. That's not overly hot. This chip is not getting hot at all. The Opti Premium chip here, this one here, is like 26 degrees Celsius. That's the cache chip is at 26. This Opti chip here is not, I don't see anything. Interestingly enough, half the cache chips. Oh, that's interesting. I see 4 of the 8 cache chips on the thermal camera. half the chipset doesn't seem like it's got power because I don't see any like it's dark. I think we got a power issue. Oh yeah, they do look like they're a different package. They're Toshiba chips. Yeah, these four are UMC and these four are Toshiba. I just noticed that. Yeah. They're all the same size. But so these two chips didn't look like they had power. This one looked like it had power. I saw these were warm. Half the cache was hmm. All right, let me see. That is such a fantastic idea that I decided to knock stuff off my bench. Please hold while I fix my poor stacking. All right, let me set these things. I gotta move some stuff aside because I'm about to lose it. Yeah, maybe I should flip the chips around. That's a good idea. I was also trying to find my voltage blaster, but I have I have misplaced it. All right, so I got that plugged in. Let me take a look at the power pins on the back of the board. There are some capacitors bodged in on the incoming power. I don't think the power pins are broken. There are a few bodges on the back of the board. They all do appear to be connected. I don't see any. Oh, strike that. I was about to say I don't see any scratches on the back side of the board. I'm not sure that's a scratch. I can't tell what it is. It might just be dirt. Yeah, we'll swap the cache chips around. We won't swap the chipset chips around. That never goes well. Right, this feels like it's something on top of the solder mask. It's not budging with isopropyl. Let me let that evaporate, and then I'll try some acetone. I mean, I don't. Thing is, I don't see any obvious damage on this board. And then there does appear to be something in the. I think this is something on the solder mask that is just being absolutely. All right, I think that's something on the solder mask. I'm not going to. All right, I will keep that in mind, but I think it is on top of the solder mask, so I am going to move on from it at the moment. I think I will when I. All right, let's do this. Let's. All right, let's do this simple here. So we'll power it up again. But since we saw something weird with the cache chips, I'm going to take this one, which appeared to be dark, and this one, which lit up, and we'll swap them. There we go. And we'll see what it looks like on the thermal camera. All right. Also, this cache chip looks weird. Let me unsock it and resock it. Oh yeah. The old famous. That pin is bent up. Oh wow, that pin is really bent up. You know, that right there might be a good reason why I should probably pull all the cache chips and. All right. Also, I'm going to institute the all sockets are deoxidated if I pull the chip from this point on. I should have probably done that to those cache chips. but I'll pull them all and put some contact cleaner in them. All right, so that cache chip had a bent leg. It was going to be whatever this pin down here is, probably 1015. I mean, I don't think that would have kept it from posting, but then again, Pinion board maybe. I mean, I guess I could have done something. All right, so let's see here. We got power. All right, no postcodes. All right, let's see here. All right, so let me wait for it to thermally calibrate. That cache chip that had the bent leg is... I see it on the thermal camera. So it's glowing. That chipset chip still is unpowered there. And so is this one over by the... Well, you know, this one may not be that active unless I've got PCI or ISA traffic. Oh, interestingly enough, I don't think the Sims... I don't see the Sims on the thermal camera. And, oh! The cache chips. Look at that. So, I swapped those two cache chips there, and I think the 4 Toshiba cache chips might be dead. Because look at that. There's now a gap. So it's not a power problem. All right. Yeah, I would agree. This may not be a power problem. Let's, all right. Since it looks like we have some bad cache chips, how about let's pull all the cache chips. All right. That one has some slightly bent legs. Okay, I can't disable the cache on the board, but maybe if I pull all the cache chips, maybe it might start to post. Because those dead cache chips could have been maybe affecting the chipset, maybe? I don't know. I'll leave the tag in because it looked like it might have been working. So pulled the cache. I'll go find some cache chips if it. Well, let's see what it does. I'm going to move the postcard back to the PCI slot because I want to be able to see the LEDs here. So I'll if I see anything other than dashes, I will bring you into what I see on the display. Okay, it did come out of reset. Oh, okay, so we only have hyphens on the displays. So let's thermal camera. You know, I do have a faint glow from this chip now, so maybe that required something in the PCI slot to start to wake up. maybe. This one here, I don't see any light from it. All right, so I see these 4 chips here. I see glowing. There's like a gal or a pal at the edge of the board. I see it glowing. I can't tell if the processor's powered, but I don't. The ROM chip's not warm. So let's see here. The keyboard. All right, I do see some of the other bus transceivers. Nothing is abnormally hot. Interestingly enough, the power wires. I seemingly see 2 of the power wires are warmer than the rest. But by warmer, I mean we're nowhere close to a concerning temperature. Yeah, nowhere close to a concerning temperature, but the thermal camera is good enough to see that like 2 of the wires are slightly warmer than the rest. Yeah, nothing's hotter than 30 degrees Celsius, so um I think I am going to venture a. If I can find where I set my multimeter. I am going to carefully measure the voltages on the ISA bus. Um, all right. So okay, so I've got the multimeter in the common. All right. So all right. So I got 0.488 volts. That's all right. So I've got 5 volts. I got negative 12 volts. And I got 12 volts. All right, so I got all the voltages on the ISA slot. I don't have negative 5 volts, but that's because this is a modern power supply. All right, so that's good. All right, so I'm going to turn this off. You know, maybe I should have put contact cleaner in the CPU socket. Now that I think about it. Okay, so I did not bend any pins on the CPU. The heatsink does feel a little bit warm. So I think the processor was at least getting power. All right, let's put some contact cleaner in the CPU socket. We'll remove and insert the processor a couple times to. All right. Okay. Was this a case of we needed to deoxit that socket? No. Okay. Oh, thank you, Sylvestron. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. All right. So, hmm. All right. I guess let's let's try this. I'm going to remove the BIOS chip. I'm fairly sure it is the correct one for this board because it has a label on top of it with the motherboard's part number on it. So I don't think someone's played. Let's put a random chip in the board for the eBay buyer because it's missing. And if I can try to figure out what kind of flash chip it is a 12-volt flash chip. The label just is flaking apart. I have a feeling it's a. If I had to guess, it's probably a. Quite possibly an Intel. All right. All right, let me do it this way. 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So it's got 32 pins. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a 32 pin part that I believe is close to what this one is, and then I'm going to do an read the ID of it. So I think this is going to be an Intel. Well, let's do that one. Device read ID. All right. So I just read the ID. I picked a 27C010 in DIP32 package because I realized its ID pins are going to be the same. So the chip ID on this one is C211. All right. So let's see here. Chip ID C211. There we go. Control Alt Reese has an EEPROM ID list. So C211. All right, C210 is a Macronics part. All right, so this is probably going to be a... All right, so this is going to be a Micronics part number, because C2 is the vendor. And the BIOS is 128 kilobytes. So that is going to mean this is going to be a 1 megabit chip, if my math is right. I thought it was going to be a Intel because I thought it was a flash chip, but it looks like it might just be an EEPROM. So if I had to guess, this is probably a 28 F 1000. Maybe. All right, device, read ID. Um, all right. That's probably a wrong guess. Let me just read the contents. Operator word software, all rights reserved. All right, so it does look like... Okay, so the good thing is it looks like we do have an award BIOS here. And it's probably... Okay, so it's probably a correct image. I don't... There are some areas of this flash chip where, or this EEPROM, where there's zeros and there's Fs. But I know in these Pentium boards, there are some empty areas. Let me put it this way. It looked like the text contents were readable. I'm going to assume that this chip may have some areas that don't have data, so I'm not going to be worrying that I've lost data. But if I continue to have problems, I may write the BIOS onto another chip. The one that's on the retro web. Yeah. Alright, that's... Oh, but it didn't, Hold on. I don't think the board came out of reset that time. But I gotta look at the postcard. Oh, no, it did not come out of reset that time. Alright. Alright, it is up, still in reset. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if I can spot my... external battery adapter, because before I go too much further, I want to rule out that it's not a... This chipset really wants to see a CMOS battery before it starts to boot. Alright, so I don't think it's because we don't have a video card. Video card's not going to... The lack of a video card is not going to cause an issue this early in the post process. Because we're not even... It's not even starting to execute code. So... I mean, it is possible that it's wanting to see a battery voltage for the CMOS before it comes at a reset. Now that I could see maybe being something that's looking for all the voltages, including the battery. And we don't have a battery voltage, so... Okay, I could see that one. I'm trying to find a battery adapter. Hold, please. Because the good thing is this doesn't have a Dallas chip I've got to repair. But that means I gotta plug something into the external battery connector. I don't think the lack of... I don't think the lack of cache is... going to cause a post issue. Alright. Let me check a couple other... 20 and... Oh, you know... I saw a jumper that's wrong, so let me check some other jumpers here. JP20... JP20 and JP21. Oh. Oh, I just realized. I think there's some jumpers that probably should be on this board and are missing. Once I actually looked at jumper settings. So I've got some of these that I got somewhere. I'm going to go through all the jumper settings. The document on the RetroWeb has the default settings. So I'm going to set this to the default settings as another user documented on their Pentium 60 board. And I'm still going to leave the cache out though. But I'm going to configure the board for even the default amount of cache, which means I'm going to have to closed. All right, closed, open. So I will have to get some cache chips. All right, so there's that. So JP5 should be open. That's for back-to-back IO delay. Oh, enabled. It should be closed. JP5 should be closed. And it is... all right. It was open. Set that to close. That's the default setting. All right. JP... So AT clock should be clock divided by 4. So JP6 should be closed and JP7 open. Closed, open. That is what it's set to. All right, JP20 is the external. JP20 and JP23 are the external L clocks, or is L clock source. By default, it should be external. So JP20 needs to be 1 and 2. That jumper's missing. And JP23 needs to be closed. And I am looking for that jumper. Oh, it is closed. Okay. All right. So JP21 should be 2 and 3. That's direct drive L clock. All right. So that one right there. Oh yeah, something tells me that just some jumpers fell out. All right. So JP3 VESA Local Bus enabled. That should be open. JP3 is open. All right, that's the default. JP4 should be open by default, and it is. JP22 should be open by default. And it is. All right. JP26 should be closed. And let's see, yeah, JP26 should be closed. 27 should be open. 28 should be closed. These are VESA Local Bus IDs. So I don't think they would have caused a no-post problem, but those clock ones that were missing probably could have. JP29 should be open. And let's see, JP30 should be open. Okay. That basically set local bus ID 0 to 0 and local bus ID 2 to 0. And I have no idea why you give them both the same ID. All right, so erase CMOS settings. I already checked that jumper. That was on. According to the sticker that was on the EEPROM, it seemingly says 12 volts, but the default for this board is 5 volts on EEPROM VPP, so I guess I'll leave it on the default. And JP25 should be open. And it is. All right. So, I think I found three jumpers that were missing that had something to do with clocks. I also have set the default cache setting, even though I have no cache on the board. All right, will it post? Well, we're at a reset, but no postcodes. Let's check. Let's check thermal camera. All right, I still. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, I don't see everything I was expecting, but all right. JP1 and 2 again. JP1 and 2. Oh, we're banks. Hmm. All right. External clock, L clock. L clock. All right. Okay. Now we're stuck in reset again. All right. That was not. That was not it. All right. All right. Okay. Of course, the thing is, I don't know that this processor works. I don't know that this motherboard works. It could be that I have a dead motherboard and a dead processor. Although, I mean, I would think the processor. Okay, that is weird. I just found that, whatever that is, sticking under the processor. I don't know what it is. It looks like part of a brush or something. Doesn't look conductive though, but hmm. All right. Let me see if I can find my battery adapter real quick. Yeah, hold please. Okay, I am going to exclude one possible cause here. All right, I don't know where my external battery thing is, but I did find some EEPROMs that are the right size for burning a new BIOS chip. Hey, Game Doc, welcome. This Pentium board does not want to play ball. Oh, Game Doc says, close the loop. I bought a desoldering gun and desoldered all the switches on the keyboard. I'm as novice as one could be in this context, so I didn't know you're supposed to use flux while desoldering. The three of the pads just straight up came off. Actually, when you're using those desoldering guns, some of them you don't want to use flux because the flux can get into the vacuum pump and gum it up. And then you got to disassemble the thing and clean it. So I actually usually don't use flux when using the desoldering gun for that exact reason of not gumming up the pump. The good news is that right next to each pad is a diode on the surface to which I could bridge the key switches. Excellent. Yep, that would be exactly what I would be doing. All right, so So there is a BIOS for this board on the retro web. And I'm going to burn a new ROM because I'm running out of ideas on this board. All right. Oh, hey, Mega, welcome. So once I figured that out, I got to soldering 110 switches, says GameDoc. Excellent. Also, funny story from GameDoc. Didn't bother to check the keyboard before I took it apart. I was missing a diode, so F12 was dysfunctional, even brand new, so I bought 100 replacements, $6, and fixed that too. Thanks for the guidance. Yeah, no problem. Always glad to help. And GameDoc says, and now I absolutely love my keyboard. All right, so. Hi, Jason, welcome. You might be late, but, you haven't missed any benchmarks. Mega says, what's up with this board? All right, for those of you just joining, this board was sold by an eBay seller as a 486 board. Spoiler alert, it is not a 486 board. It is a socket 4 Pentium board. So that is the socket for the original Pentium 60 and Pentium 66. Now, of course, does it just work? No. I haven't been able to get it to post. GameDoc says, enough about me, back to the regularly scheduled content. Yes. So, I am... Megas asking, oh, is this like one of those Batman's Revenge I've heard of? No, this is not Batman or Batman's Revenge. Gupom says, that era is kind of a dead zone for me. Was VESA Local Bus common for Pentiums? No, it was not. I think that is how early of a Pentium board this is. That it had a VESA Local Bus slot. Since VESA Local Bus is very 486 specific, this chipset has to translate buses. Yeah, but we haven't been able to get it to post. So there's been no benchmarks and no attempt to use a Trident VESA Local Bus card in it. In fact, until I get it to post, I'm not even putting a video card in it. All right, so new ROM with a BIOS from the retro web. 3, 2, 1. And nada. Yeah, the VESA Local Bus was definitely there for people upgrading. Yes, I would agree. We got nothing. Sadmax says, I can see how the seller misidentified it given the VESA Local Bus. Yeah, that probably is how they misidentified it. Gupom says, I just bought a fun motherboard from Ukraine. Neat. These are the cache sockets. And the reason they're empty is because half of the cache that was in the board seemed to be dead. when I pulled out the thermal camera and powered the board up. So I just removed all the cache to remove that as a possibility. All right, so the new ROM. Capcom says AGP PCI ISA and slot 1 on an Intel chipset. Neat. I only have one socket 4 processor, and it... Oh, Gutbomb says the thing that makes it unique is its baby AT. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's the important part. Yeah, I hope I get this board working, too. All right, I'm going to put the postcard in the ISA slot. Oh, wait a minute. I just noticed something here. I might know why it's not posting. I thought I looked in all the expansion slots and didn't see anything, but fortunately, I don't think that's a voltage pin. But yeah, that all right, so I'm going to put the postcard in this slot here, the one that's got 2 pins touching, so that... Oh no, I'm not. Sure enough, I think those 2 pins are touching. All right. Yep. All right. I think I am going to have to do something I don't normally like to do to ISA slots. And that is, I think in order to fix that quickly, because of the way it's bent, yeah, that might be a problem. I'm going to just see if I can't find something small enough to hook under that contact and bend it out of the way. I'll have to replace that slot. Probably. Unfortunately, it looks mangled enough that I don't think there's any fixing it. I think I'm just going to have to... Oh, that might work. Get something in under that. Do I have a thin plastic card I could shove in there in the meantime? Not that... Well, Gutbomb, I can't insert anything in here. Because the pin, it's that mangled. Actually, probably what I'm... Like a Hollywood rental. I mean, maybe I've got something I can shove down in there. Oh, I might have paper. Paper. It's heavy cardstock. No, it's not rigid enough. All right. Oh, here's some thick cardboard. Okay, I got some thick cardboard down in there. I'm having trouble showing it. Let me check with a ohm meter and see if we got the pins at least separated. All right, so okay, meter is in the correct mode. Whoop, hold on. All right. Side to side, one way, not contacting. Side to side, the other way, not contacting. And all right, I think I broke the connection. Mark Inning says, "Be kind, rewind." I say, "Be kind." Don't be a brute force to an ISA slot. All right. 3, 2, 1. Nothing. I've tried reseating the CPU. I'm gonna put the postcard in the ISA bus. I didn't think that was going to solve anything. All right, so we are still not posting. Let me. All right, let me check the thermal camera. I'm gonna see if any of these chips that weren't powering up maybe. Are no, no. This one here still doesn't look like it's powering up. That one is. This one's dim. I should probably see what pin that was. That would probably be prudent. Have I tried reflowing the chipset pins? No, I have not. That is not something I really want to attempt unless I have to. Capcom says the floppy drive in my Tandy wasn't died tonight when I was trying to test it. Oh no! Alright, let's see what those pins are. I mean, yeah, I may have to reflow the chipset, but I don't have any reason to believe that the chipset has become desoldered. Okay, let's see here. All right, so that is the pin that was bent is pin B20. B20 is a clock is the clock signal. It was connected to one of the address lines. So it would have been connected to address line 20. All right, so probably not. Oh, actually. All right, so we're not. Do we? All right, so on the ISA bus, we have the frame LED. I don't see clock. That could be a problem. I don't see the clock signal on the ISA bus. At least not from the postcard. All right. Oh, I wish my oscilloscope was could fit on my bench because I'd really like to probe the clock line. All right. Could that have killed the oscillator? I mean, it could have. Oscillator could have already been dead for other reasons. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to put the postcard back in. I don't. Hi, 555. I hope that's not a phone number. Um, yeah, not knowing exactly what that number is, I don't want to like I'm hoping that's just a number. All right. I tried changing a L clock setting. I don't even know what L clock is. No. Try that. Oh, wait. No. Nope. That. Interesting. It looks like I got a clock now. But it looks like the board is still in reset. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I saw any damage traces on the bottom side. Let me plug the speaker back in. Um, okay, now I don't have reset, but I don't have clock. All right. So SJ Brian has some very good questions here. All right. Are all of the jumpers set correctly? They are set to the what are suspected to be the default values for a Pentium 60. According to a text file that's on the RetroWeb. Is that correct? I don't know. That text document on the RetroWeb is the only source of documentation for the jumpers of this board other than what's on the silk screen. So, yeah, they could be wrong. And are the CPU and memory known works on another board? I only have one socket 4 board and one socket 4 processor. So, is the processor known working? No, it's not. I have no way of testing it. This is my only socket 4 board. It's my only socket 4 processor. I don't know anyone that has a socket 4 system to test this in. Is the memory known working? I believe the memory is known working, but I don't think... I mean, it's not even starting to post, so I don't think memory is... I don't think memory's the problem. You know, that is a really weird trace there. Hold, please, while I dust the board. Huh. No, I don't think that... There's a trace over by the BIOS chip that doesn't look like it has solder mask on it for some reason. I was trying to look to make sure it didn't look like it was burnt, but well, come to look at it, there's a number of traces on this board that looks like the solder mask is thinner. So, all right, that's probably nothing. Yeah, Mega says there'd be postcodes even without memory. The BIOS is loaded into the CPU registers before initializing the RAM. Yep. I did read out the BIOS chip. It looks like it was correct. I did program a second BIOS chip from the image that's on the retro web, that didn't cause any that didn't cause it to start posting. The only thing I haven't done is hooked up an external battery because I can't find my external battery adapter in case this chipset really wants the CMOS battery voltage before it starts to post. I mean, it is a rather odd chipset. I don't think the fact that I removed the cache chips, maybe I should remove the tag. I'm going to remove the tag. Now it has no cache at all. But I think the board's. Yeah. Yeah, Mega says if it can't edit the RAM, it throws the repeated long beep. Yep. SJ says, yeah, it would still code and beep with RAM issues. I don't know if there's any rare cases where RAM issues had trashed the bus enough to cause it to not run code. I mean, I'm fairly sure these are working memory modules. Because luckily, because they came out of my RAM stash, and I've used them before, but I guess that's a good point. Let's remove the RAM. I do have a speaker hooked up, so if it was incessantly beeping, we should theoretically hear it. There is one thing I could do. I'm going to try hardware reset. Sometimes I've had boards start to post. Soccer Wrench says, no cache at all, like me. I mean, I can't call this board Johnny at the moment. Because there's the cache. Har, 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 har. Because then the board would be Johnny No Cache. Hi, Jack. Welcome. Yeah, my socket 4, it's not actually a 486 board, is not posting. Now you're up to speed. Sure enough, that chip is getting a little bit warm, but the thermal camera already told us that. And yeah. Because you can kind of see the... Is there any corrosion near the battery? No, there's not. I snipped the battery and I don't see any corrosion near it. Yeah, I think this is the regret. Either this motherboard, the CPU, or both. Oh, wait a minute, what is... Well, I didn't see any corrosion, but... something already looks amiss there. All right, so that trace is battery related. That trace there is probably going to the keyboard. Huh. Hmm. All right, I'm not sure where that trace goes. But it definitely looks iffy. And of course, it goes under the power connector. Oh, that looks... Well, that capacitor just looks all cheery. Okay, so I think the answer to the question is, yeah, there does appear to be maybe a small amount of corrosion over here that I didn't notice until just now. Some carnage in this area, but I don't know if it's bad enough that it would stop the system from posting. Ooh, there's another trace right there. Yeah, it kinda looks like, despite the fact that I thought we caught the battery in time, it does look like there is some carnage. And one of these signals is going under the power connector. That does not necessarily say it is connected to the power connector. Or was. Because it does look like that trace makes a right angle into that resistor right there and then to that via. Hmm. Here we look at the other. Yeah. Although I wasn't exactly expecting to repair anything this stream. We may continue the repairs to Thursday because my feet are starting to get cold. Yeah, I'm thinking I may wrap the stream at around 11 because my feet are starting to get cold. It might have gotten up to 55 today, but that was while the sun was out. Tonight's low was like in the 20s, I think. So, it, anyways, it wasn't long enough to make the basement a bastion of warmth. Jesse says, Marge, can we set the basement to warm? Well, I don't know what that trace is, but that kind of looks crusty. And then there was this that I did see. Although that does look like it is something on the top of the solder mask. Alright, so I guess... Alright, so I guess let's inspect. And we'll come up with a... It's a copper-free VIA, says Thomas. Alright, so let's inspect and come up with the repair plan for Thursday's live stream. I'm going to have to move some stuff off my bench so I have room to solder. And... Alright, so... Power connector... Okay. Probably no audio for me. Oh, Thomas says no audio for me tonight. I'm at a hockey rink. All right. Well, enjoy the hockey game. Although you won't be able to hear me say that until you probably replay with audio. Hope it was a good hockey game. Okay. Here's a scratch. But I think that's just a surface scratch. All right. All right. So come around here. I think up in this corner, we're fine on the bottom side. The battery connector, the battery would have been around here. There's one of the battery terminals. And that is one of the traces right there that does look questionable. I'll see if there's some points we can check with the multimeter. But that does look... Oh, good. Okay, so I see the one end point. There's a via. Alright, so there's a via on this side. And this trace goes around here. Oh, that's actually not broken there. So that's actually still connected. So that trace is not broken. All right, so this trace that runs up and under that black blob there, which I think's on the surface, that's going to the keyboard controller, I believe. All right, one of those traces still has continuity, and the other... Yep, still has continuity. So that black blob, I think, is just on the top. That's on if that trace is broken. The trace isn't broken. I checked it. I found the vias on both sides. That trace is fine. I found the vias on both sides of it. Should I scrape the solder mask off and clean it up? Yes, but it's not broken. Now, there was a resistor on the top side of the board. And I was looking for the via it connects to. All right. There is a via somewhere right there. So that resistor on the top side that kind of didn't look too hot connects to there. And I don't know what... Let me see what the point is on the top side of the board. We can check. Oh, you know what I could do? Okay, I can't show this. But I can check the bottom of the board and... Okay, so that via beside this resistor, it looked gross. It looked gross, but it still has continuity. So I'll have to clean that up. Now, that on this side of this resistor, that trace goes down, and it doesn't look so hot there. And it comes over, and I think I scraped enough of the solder mask off so I can... Kind of an awfully high resistance for that short of a trace. So I think that's going to be a problem. Yeah, it's got the beginning of some trace rot. All right. So that via there is connected. I don't have a good feeling about this trace here. I think this is rotten, but I don't know what that connects to. All right, let me think this power connector is going to have to come off the board. Does this resistor connect any of the power pins? Oh, I think it's a... Oh, well, actually, there is a connection from this resistor to this power pin through what I believe is that broken trace. Oh, this must be connected to 5 volts. It's not connected to the battery, is it? No, it's not connected to the battery. I don't know what that resistor is connected to. All right. So it looks like there's a broken trace, but it is still connected. I'm still wondering if there is a broken trace somewhere. All right, let's continue. Could this be a board that won't post without a battery? It very well could be, and I cannot find my battery adapter. Battery adapter is not next to GoTech. My GoTech is right in front of me. I wish it was right next to my GoTech. No, it's probably attached to the last motherboard I was using it with. That's probably where it actually is. I don't remember what board that is, though. That's the problem. At one point, I almost ordered some lithium battery packs from Mauser, but I think I kept stopping myself from ordering them because it would have slowed the shipping of the rest of the order down. Also, somewhere I've got one of those Ron external battery boards with a cable on it, but I don't know where I put it. Other than I think it might still be attached to the last board I used it with. I have a tendency of doing silly things like that. Oh, wait. Hold. I might remember. I might know where it might be. If I can remember where I put it. don't know what I did with the battery adapter. It's unfortunately small enough that I've probably misplaced it. Jack says, teenager me would have loved to know that one day I would have a computer collection so large that I could wonder which computer some component was in. This is exactly how I end up with multiple things. Yeah. The thing is, I'm now wondering if I don't actually have it in some computer, and if instead it's under the pile of stuff to my left, which is so precariously perched in places that I don't really want to try to dig through it. And that's really the thing. I don't know that my collection's so large. I'm wondering. It's just I don't remember what I put it in. If I did, that's the thing. It may not be in something. I kind of thought it might be, but after looking at my top 3 guesses, it's not in them. So and then I was looking to see if maybe I did order one of those battery packs from Mouser. I mean, if I was being completely rational, I would go to Mouser's website and check my past order or two. All right. Projects. All right. So I gotta have a project on Mouser's site that's like all the parts I haven't ordered yet. All right. All right. Copy the part number. Mouser's not indicating that I've ordered it, so I probably have not actually ordered it. All right. Part history search. Paste that part number. All right. I did not actually order the battery pack. Can I inject 5 volts to the battery terminals? No. I would be afraid that I would do it wrong. Hi, Lazy Bite Boy. Welcome. I've had to set up a drawer for all the extra knickknacks I buy from JCM-1. Yeah. Jack says, oh, yes, I'm familiar with checking my order history to avoid duplicate order something. SJ's asking, 5 volts seems a bit high. How high do those old Vardas go? 3.6 volts. I think, I think the battery terminals will take 5 volt, but I don't have a way to inject 5 volts and have 5 volts on the terminal when I power it up and be able to fit it on my bench. I really need the battery board I'm looking for because it's small and portable and it doesn't take up much room, and I know that I won't overvolt the battery circuit. I just don't know what I did with it. Yeah, it's probably happy with up to 6 volts. I'm not applying 6 volts. At the moment, I'm applying 0 volts. I can't find the... There's got to be some way to do this that I don't risk damaging. I want to minimize potential collateral damage. Jack says, ordered some of those CR2032 holders with leads on them for something, and now I can't remember what. Did I order a CR2032 holder with leads on it? Well, apparently I do have some CR2032s with leads on them. But no connectors, so I can't plug it in. I seriously bought a bag of those, and there's no... Okay. Well, I guess I can... I don't have room to put my bench supply on my bench. That's the problem. I would normally not mind trying my bench supply for something like that. I don't have room for it on my bench. It has been so cold in the basement, I haven't really felt like cleaning much of my bench off between streams. It's not looking promising tonight because I'm going to end the stream shortly because my feet are cold. I don't know if that's necessarily the best reason to end a stream early, but I can only tolerate my feet being cold for so long, and then... Alright, so I powered up the soldering iron. I'm going to tack this battery holder. Well, those pins are not... Alright, hold on. I want to make sure I got the polarity right on this. Alright. Alright. It had a battery... Well, I removed the battery because I was quite honestly not sure that it was... I mean, it didn't look like it was leaking. But you never can tell with those Vardas. So I removed it, and it kind of looked like it might be fine, but obviously it probably had leaked some. I'm just going to tack this battery holder to the external battery contact. Okay. There we go. So I tacked the battery holder on. I am going to put a piece of tape on it as strain relief. Right, those are the external battery contacts. So I should not have to do anything else. All right, so let me grab a battery. All right, I guess I gotta open a. There we go. All right. All right, I got a battery, a brand new battery. One of two things is going to happen. This is going to work or it's not going to work. Battery is on. All right, let me see if I can measure a voltage across those two pins. I should be able to. Not in AC mode, though. Okay. Those pins are a bit corroded, but I do see a voltage across them. So let's go ahead and plug our power back in. All right, the battery holder's tacked on, so it shouldn't. So voltage should be 3.3 volts there, even if there is some corrosion affecting the voltage I was reading at the terminals. All right, let's plug our postcard in. All right, 3, 2, 1. No. Hi, hardware hacker. Welcome. Oh, I didn't plug the speaker back in. No, there's not a jumper to enable external battery, but there is a jumper to reset the CMOS, and that jumper has some lovely corrosion on it. Let me maybe just put a new jumper on those pins. Because I could totally see a board like this not posting correctly if those pins were not connected. Yeah, but that is a thing. There are some boards that you do have to jumper for external battery. All right, so I'm going to put the jumper on pins 1 and 2 momentarily to clear CMOS, and then I'll put it back on 2 and 3. Jack's asking, "Where's the jumper for please work now?" No. No. Mega says one needed a jumper in the middle 2 pins of the 4-pin external battery header to do internal battery. Yeah, I've seen boards like that. Okay, I don't see any new activity on chips in the chipsets. All right, so I think not sure what that is. Alright. Probably just a mark on the top of the chip. So far, this is the chipset chip that's not, seemingly not powering up. Guess, guess that's probably one thing I'll have to try is reflow the leads. I really need to make some room so I can properly solder. I think there might be some dead bugs on the board. Jack says it's probably about time I take down the Christmas tree, seeing it's February. I guess it makes up for all the years I never put it up. Well, I think there was at one point where my grandmother just left the tree up. Partly because she'd set it up in the basement. She just put a dust cover over it so that it didn't get all dusty. But it she's like, like, well, it's in the basement, so that's where I was going to store it anyways. So I think she just like she put a dust cover over it for the rest of the year and then took that off the next December. Didn't have to put the tree up. And I think her thought was exactly the, well, I was going to store it in the basement anyways and set it back up in the basement. Because there really wasn't a place to set it up in the living room with all the furniture that was in the living room. To have enough chairs for everyone to sit down at, so. Jack says, I should have gotten one that was narrow enough that I could just move it to the unfinished part of the basement. It won't fit through the door. Yeah, because then you could just do that. Yeah, move it, put a dust cover over it, bring it back upstairs the next December. Sadback says, my parents did similar before. If anything, we just moved it into the office because of the cat. Yeah. Oh, some of these sockets are really dirty, but yeah. I'm just trying to see if I see anything that's not trying to be thorough or I'm just trying to take a one pass to see if I see anything. In fact, even thought, well, let me just check this slot that. Yeah, this is the slot that had the broken pin on it. In fact, there's the cardboard I put to separate the pins. It was the clock signal and address line 20. All right, I don't see. Yep, there's the mangled pin. It's not touching the one beside it. I checked with the multimeter. That's the cardboard to keep the pins from touching. All right. I guess maybe I should. Just check. I don't know. I don't see. Yeah, I don't see anything. Yeah, that slot has seen better days. If I get the board working, I'll replace the ISA slot. I am. I am thinking that the next step might be to just try reflowing the chipset. Did you check the resistor pack near VL2? No, I did not check the resistor pack near VL2. And did I notice that the smaller Opti chip had a bent pin? No, I did not. All right, so um, I don't see a bent pin. Oh, oh yeah, well, yeah, I did notice that resistor pack is not using all of its legs, but The funny thing is, that's factory. Because that resistor pack was soldered at the factory. You are right. It is not. Yeah, that is very weird. But it's soldered, and I think it's soldered factory solder. That's cost cutting at its finest for you. I mean, I would have at least put a piece of Kapton tape under it to make sure that those pins didn't potentially break through the solder mask. Especially because they're right above two traces, but I don't think it's broken through the solder mask. It is really weird, though. All right. So I think this is where I'm going to call the stream for tonight because my feet are cold. I do have to. Yeah, I guess we'll have to check. So I guess we will resume looking at this Thursday, and we will. Yeah, I guess we'll start with the bottom side of the board and look for any broken traces. I mean, there are a few rotten traces, but so far I haven't found any that are actually broken. So, yeah, we'll continue on this board on Thursday. I will put my thinking cap on and see if I can't think of anything else that we need to look at. And maybe we reflow the two chipset chips that are not powering up. So, anyways, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. Thursday we'll go live at 9 p.m. and hopefully I'll be able to go my normal time. Although I did almost make it normal time. But yeah, my feet are getting cold, so I'm gonna stop now. So I guess I made it almost the whole time, but 30 minutes before it. So remember to turn my little foot heater off because I have left that running before. It's not near anything for it to be a safety problem, but I'd rather not leave it running and just heating the uninsulated basement. But anyway, so don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. We will continue looking at this board Thursday. I will try to come down tomorrow for at least a little bit and make enough room so I can do some soldering. And with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm going to try to use my left hand. I got machine oil on my right hand, and I don't want to get that on my mouse. So, anyways, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, Thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.